Hello, and this is the newest video. And for the next three actually, we're going to be talking about SM Stirling's The Change series. Basically it's split up into 3 parts, soon to be 4 with new books coming out. So I'm going to break it down into each 3 because they are separate storylines. Actually I should have probably done this when I did the Shannara overview, but I didn't because I'm learning. So yeah, so the first part is basically starts off with the island in the Sea of Time. Didn't want to get it wrong, I had to look there. So the island of the Sea of Time. Basically, with this book and with all of them actually, it's a what-if type of story. So the first 3, so this one and then another 2, basically it starts off with a mysterious dome appears over the island of Nantucket, with no relation to Stephen King. And then the island gets transported, for whatever reason, back in time to around the Bronze Age. So they have to figure out where they are, what's happening, and try to survive. Because, you know, they go over to the mainland and there's no settlements. It's all Native Americans. You know, they travel down south and it's all, you know, Mayans and things like that. You know, they go across the pond to like England and it's, you know, it's not England and the UK and, you know, all that stuff in Europe as we know it. It's all different things. It's all back in time, long time ago. So they have all their technology, so they have working diesel engines, their computers still work. It's just a matter of, you know, don't repair anything in your house for, you know, years and see how it breaks down and you have no way to fix it. And that's kind of what they go through, is, you know, they have all this knowledge, but they have no infrastructure to keep it up. So first off, they, you know, they're trying to farm and stuff like that, right? Because they know that, you know, they're going to die, so everyone's backbreaking farm, you know, tilling it by hand, and, you know, they're getting upset and stuff like that, and, you know, as it is, like, you know, people in our time period right now are not used to hardships like that. So all of a sudden thrust into it, you know, a lot of people break, which is a sad part of it, you know, but they actually hold it together pretty well around one of the main characters, who is a sheriff, and he ends up kind of becoming the de facto mayor, ruler of this island as they go through this transition. So they have all the technology, but they can't really use a lot of it yet, and they're low on a lot of things, like guns, ammunition, medicine, that sort of stuff, so they have to kind of relearn and refine things. So one of the cool things is they start doing swords, you know, and they start teaching everyone how to use a sword and crossbow, and, you know, they get like medieval armor type of thing going on and stuff like that, and it's pretty cool. Alright. What's really neat is the impact between the 2 different types of societies that end up getting thrown. One being the Nantucket, a futuristic, compared to that time, island, versus the old school Bronze Age cultures. So, you know, they meet up with Assyria, and they meet up with Sumerians, and, you know, they meet up with old tribes, and they come in with all this technology that are like, you know, it's amazing. But they end up teaching it to them in order to help them, because, you know, they say, oh, we know how to get iron out of the ground easier, so, you know, help us farm because we don't know how to do that, and then we'll help you do that. And it kind of goes back and forth, and it's going to end up being pretty peaceful until the main bad guy, it ends up being pretty obvious pretty quickly, so I don't think this is a huge spoiler, but it is a spoiler in total for this whole video and the next couple ones, actually in all of them. He's from the Nantucket, so he ends up using his knowledge, and he gains a couple followers, and they go off into the world to try to, you know, carve out their own little empire, and they end up being the main bad guys, because the Nantucket people feel it's their responsibility to stop them, because the bad guys are using their technology and knowledge to try to take over a good portion of the world and set themselves up as emperors and kings and stuff like that, but they're not good people. It's not just that they're trying to take over, it's that they're doing it and being horrible people about it at the same time. So one of the main things I want to say is, if you like history, ancient history, you'll find it kind of cool, that, they're going back and they're fighting, Assyrians, and they're, chariot guys, and then, because they end up getting muskets and cannons, so, that with chariot warfare and things like that, so it's kind of like a fun clash. So if you like ancient history, then you'll for sure like this series. If you're not too much of a fan of ancient history, you might not like it as much, because I did find that there were parts where he let go of the story and focused more on the history aspect, which kind of made some of the later books slow down a little bit, which I wasn't too happy with. But again, it's a contrast between the two. It's either story or he focuses on the fun history part of it, so it's kind of like that. Sorry, I made notes. Okay, so yeah, by the time it gets to the very ending of it, it feels like it's kind of one of those stories where it's built up to be how in the world could they figure this out, because it ends up being like most of the known world at that time ends up being involved in this war, with cannons and muskets and all this, diseases and things like that popping up and things like that. And so it's, you get the sense of, well, how could they possibly finish it? It starts to touch on a really cool part about dissidents in the bad guy's empire that he has set up, and how they end up defeating him isn't through some big battle, it's through, a couple of guys doing certain things. I don't want to spoil that one, because it is the ending for how the bad guy gets beaten, because it's a story. Of course the bad guy gets beaten. So how they do it, I thought, could have been expanded upon a lot longer, and it would have been a really, really cool ending. But instead they kind of focused on this one little battle that didn't really mean much, and it kind of just happened out of nowhere, I felt anyways. So there's that. So there wasn't much of a personal conflict ending for the bad guy. It was more of like a random battle. It was still an interesting read, but yeah. So yeah, so that's that part of the series. So that's the first three. Like I said, if you like historical fantasy, you're going to like this. Like I said, it does slow down, so if you aren't going to be a fan of them talking about how, they're trying to introduce some sort of, cultural to people who, don't want to accept any medicine because they feel that, it's witchcraft and stuff like that. If you're not going to be enjoying stuff like that, then it'll end up being a little dry for you to read. But if you do, oops, almost dropped it. If you do enjoy that sort of stuff, then you'll find it a very interesting read, because the clash between the technology and the high technology and the low technology meeting on this, level platform is pretty fun. So yeah, so that's the first part. And if you don't like the sound of that at all, you can read the next ones with no problem. This has no bearing on the storyline, basically. I mean, there's a couple points that it does, but I mean, for the overall, you won't be like, oh my god, I didn't read The Island in the Sea of Time, oh no! So yeah, okay. So yeah, so that's that, and then I guess part 2 will be the other part. So thanks for watching, guys. Hope you enjoyed.